He launched his navy across the flooded plains, and within days, 40,000 enemy soldiers drowned in their armor. It was the most devastating victory of the Three Kingdoms era. Cao Cao was ready to abandon his capital, shocked that a general would use a flooded river as a weapon. That's not where it ends. Let me tell you a story about how in war, the shift of power can happen overnight. By the summer of 219, the balance of power in China had shifted. Liu Bei had just won a major campaign in the west. He declared himself king of Hanzhong, the first real title ever held. After 35 years of waiting, losing, and starting over, the sandal weaver from Hebei finally had the kingdom. Holding the eastern flank of that kingdom, the most strategically critical territory in China, was Guan Yu. Jingzhou, Jing province. Whoever controlled Jingzhou controlled the center of China. It sat at the junction of the Yangtze River, Changjiang, and the Han River, Hanshui, connecting north and south, east and west. Every army that wanted to unify China had to go through it. Guan Yu had held Jingzhou for years, alone. While Liu Bei was fighting in the west, Guan Yu managed the entire province, maintained the armies, and kept two hostile powers, Cao Cao to the north and Sun Quan to the east, at bay. Now emboldened by Liu Bei's success, Guan Yu launched his own offensive. He marched north to attack Fancheng, Fan Castle, a fortress held by Cao Cao's forces on the banks of the Han River. The siege began. Cao Cao was alarmed. He sent reinforcements. Yu Jin, one of his most trusted generals, with over 30,000 soldiers. They arrived and set up camp on the flatlands south of the castle. Then the rains came. Now, in the Three Kingdoms, weather wasn't just weather. It was read as Tian Yi, heaven's will. A flood during a siege wasn't rain, it was a sign. The question was, a sign of what? Was heaven on Guan Yu's side, or was it baiting him forward into something he couldn't see? The Han River crested its banks. It had been raining for days. That thick, relentless summer rain that turns rivers into oceans and flatlands into lakes. The water rose and rose. The plains where Yu Jin had camped his 30,000 men disappeared beneath it. Guan Yu's forces were on boats. He'd prepared for this. Whether he predicted the flood or simply adapted faster than anyone else could, the sources disagree. Doesn't matter. What matters is that when the water shallowed the battlefield, Guan Yu's navy was already moving. His ships sailed over the floodplains. Beneath them, an army was dying. Yu Jin's soldiers climbed to higher grounds. They clung to ramparts, to rooftops, to anything above the waterline. Guan Yu's navy circled them. Archers fired from the decks. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The water was everywhere, and Guan Yu owned the water. 30,000 men captured or drowned. Yu Jin surrendered. The man Cao Cao had trusted for 30 years, a general famous for discipline and composure, knelt in the mud and gave up. But Peng De did not. Peng De was one of Cao Cao's fiercest warriors, a man from western China, hard and proud. When the flood hit, he fought from a raft. The raft capsized. He swam. He was pulled from the water and dragged before Guan Yu, soaked and bleeding. Guan Yu offered him mercy. Surrender. Serve me. Peng De cursed him, standing in chains, half drowned. He called Guan Yu a traitor's dog. He swore he would rather be a ghost for Cao Cao than a general for Liu Bei. Guan Yu had him executed. After the flood, Guan Yu's reputation reached its absolute peak. The word spread across China. Cao Cao, the man who controlled the north, who had the largest army in the world, considered moving his entire capital to escape Guan Yu's advance. His advisors had to talk him down. The most powerful man in China was afraid of one general. And this is the moment where the story turns, because 300 miles south, in the territory of Sun Quan, the third power in this war, something happened. Yu Meng, Sun Quan's top general, had just announced that he was gravely ill. He stepped down from command. He went home to recover. Guan Yu heard the news and relaxed. The southern border was safe. Lu Meng was sick. No threat there. He pulled troops from his southern garrisons and sent them north. More men for the siege. More men to pressure Cao Cao. He was winning, and he pressed the advantage. He didn't know that Lu Meng's illness was a total lie. Lu Meng was not sick. He had never been sick. The illness was a performance. While Guan Yu's attention was locked on Fan Castle, while his best troops marched north, while his southern defenses thinned to almost nothing, Lu Meng was assembling a fleet. Not warships, merchant vessels, fishing boats, the kind of ships that move up and down the Yangtze River every day without anyone noticing. He loaded them with elite soldiers dressed as traders and sailors. They looked like merchants hauling grain. They moved like merchants hauling grain. No banners, no armor, nothing to trigger the watchtowers that lined the riverbanks. One by one, they approached Guan Yu's checkpoints. The watchtower guards, already undermanned, already thinking the southern border was quiet, were taken, silently. Some were bribed, some were ambushed at night. Some simply opened the gates when they saw what looked like a routine merchant convoy. The beacon fires never lit. Guan Yu's entire communication network, the chain of signal towers that would have warned him of an invasion from the south, went dark. Not because it was destroyed, because it was turned. Lu Meng sailed into Jingzhou unopposed. And then he did something that Guan Yu never expected. He didn't burn the city. He didn't loot. He didn't terrorize. He treated the population with extraordinary kindness. He fed the soldiers' families. He gave them medicine. He opened the granaries. The message was clear. Your families are safe with us. Why keep fighting for a man who left you behind? When the news reached Guan Yu, still encamped outside Fan Castle, his army began to disintegrate. Soldiers deserted by the hundreds, then by the thousands. They weren't running from fear. They were running toward their families. The man who had just drowned 40,000 men was suddenly almost alone. He'd won the battle, but he was losing everything else. And the man who faked his own illness, who dressed his soldiers as merchants and sailed upriver in plain sight, was already sitting in Guan Yu's own city, feeding Guan Yu's own soldiers' wives and children. If you know someone who's ever won big and didn't see it coming, share this video with them. They will love this story. Next week, the hunt. Guan Yu retreats to a tiny walled town with a handful of men. His son is beside him. No rescue is coming. And what his enemy does with his severed head will haunt this story forever. While you wait, the story on your screen is from the same world as Guan Yu, ancient China. A man walks into a place he shouldn't. He enters to prove his courage. He leaves as someone else. Click it now to watch. Now that you've made it this far and you're still watching this video, here is the secret password, beacon. Start your comment with this word and I'll reply to you. And until next time, 再见!